Welcome back to the channel, beautiful souls. I'm so excited for today's conversation because we're going to be diving deep into the realm of wealth embodiment and unapologetic aliveness with a truly radiant guest. Joining me is Jamie Maddox, wealth embodiment mentor, body mapping guide, and your ultimate permission slip to living fully and freely as yourself. Jamie doesn't just help women feel good, she helps them come back to life in a soul deep, body based, and bank account shifting way. Through her signature blend of Tantra infused embodiment, body mapping, and transformational retreats, Jamie guides women entrepreneurs and others to align with their natural wealth blueprint so they can welcome abundance, pleasure, and power without guilt or apology. Her work is rooted in the belief that you're never broken and that the version of you who moves with confidence, speaks truth, and receives money with ease is already within you. From international retreats and creative VIP days to drum ceremonies and body mapping, Jamie's approach is multidimensional, sacred, playful, and I know today's conversation will awaken something deep within you. So let's dive in. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, Jamie and
I
Jamie.
know, right?
Uh-huh. So let's start with your story. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you were before your current version and what sparked your transformation?
Well, like most women and people, it usually happens with something that's maybe not as fun in life, I'd say. So for me, it started when I realized I'm in a really crappy marriage and I need to get a divorce. And most people don't go into marriage thinking they'll ever get divorced, right? And so it's kind of like that wake up call of like, oh wow, what do I actually like? Do I actually have to go through with this, right? But I've said for years, like, divorce was the one thing that would get me to actually do the deepest work. And I'm not sure that anything else would have gotten me to do that.
Mhm.
Because before that, I was like, oh yeah, therapy and all that healing stuff is for everybody else. It's really great for everyone else. And then suddenly I was like, crap, it's for me too, you know?
Right.
So that was about 9, 10 years ago at this point. And so I just really started diving deep and I was like, I'm obviously a mess. I've obviously not figured out some things. So I'm willing to do whatever is needed. And I will try all the weird things, all the things that I have not believed in. And I'm going to
Great.
just do it because if it will help me, I am ready to actually live like happy, healthy, and whole. Like that's what I want. So so that was me feeling super unhealthy at that point. I throughout my marriage I had gotten sicker and sicker, so my health had gone downhill, which happens with narcissistic abuse. And my daughter had a lot of health issues and a lot of mental health issues, and so like my whole life was just kind of a mess.
Yeah.
And but once I really started to implement and live these different things that I was learning and to really embody the practices, I started feeling this shift and things changed. And even from just a few years ago, my life is like so drastically different. And sometimes I forget actually how bad it was before, you know?
Kind of awesome, actually.
Right? Right. And then I'll have these moments where it's like brought to my attention and I'm like, I am so grateful. So grateful. Even though I have my own struggles right now, I'm like, I will take my struggles right now over anything I've ever been through.
Right, right. And I want to point out as an intuitive healer, so someone that's in the woo, as a lot of people call it, or in the sort of different type of healing that's not just structured therapy. I get that a lot. Like women will come in and say, they'll hit a point where it's like, well, why not? Like I might not have been
Yes.
interested in this stuff, but what have I got to lose at this point is really the conversation that happens.
Yes,
So I'm not
exactly.
surprised that you got to that point and then you turned into one of those practitioners basically to help women
Totally.
with that. So let's talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that. So many women are healing from burnout, overgiving, old narratives around worthiness, narcissistic abuse, like all kinds of things. So how do you, in your work, help women reclaim their energy and power without guilt? Because one of the things I hear and see so often is feeling guilty for finally taking space for themselves, for taking space for their own healing. That's actually a big fear I come across with women is how will it affect other people? I hear that all the time. Instead of just like, I need to do this for me, the question becomes, Okay, I know I need to do this for me, but what about my children or my other, family members or my friends? Like, how's it going to affect them? So, how do you help women reclaim without that guilt?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. One of the main things I tell my clients is I say, choose you. And when you choose yourself, it will benefit everyone else. And on the surface, like it may not appear that way, but I have watched it over and over in my life and with my clients. Like they'll make this big decision that totally chooses themselves. And it's scary. And a lot of that guilt and that shame and all these different things come up. And then as we watch it play out, they're like, oh, everyone else is flourishing now too.
Right.
So part of it is trusting the process. And it does take some time. I mean, for me specifically, it was, so we've talked about body mapping, and body mapping is, well, it's our natural wealth code on our body, and it tells us about our gifts and some of our challenges. And my nose is a circle nose. And what that means is that usually people with round noses, we tend to overgive, okay? And there's a lot of things that come with that. And for me, I was like, well, of course I'm a giver. Like, that's what I'm supposed to do. Like, that's one of my roles, right? But what I learned was that I was stopping my circle because I was having a hard time receiving. So I was getting chronic sinus infections. I was in these horrible relationships. All of these things were happening. And so, but knowing that about my nose actually helped me to allow myself to complete the cycle. Does that make sense? And so as people understand and as women understand themselves and their body more, and just a key piece like me knowing about my nose shifts a ton of things. And that's what can help remove the guilt and let people let go of the shame, is these key pieces about themselves. And that's why I'm so passionate to be like, no, understand yourself at a deeper level, and then you can move forward. And it does take courage.
It does, totally. I was just going to say that. So to help people understand, women understand, is body mapping sort of I'm not sure how to word this, a physical way of knowing yourself, such like there's all these personality tests. Is it just sort of a little bit like that, like human design or I know there's so many different tests out there that like give you insight to yourself. Am I understanding that that's also what body mapping can do from like a physical perspective? Like your nose shape and size means something, maybe what else, your ear, your elbow. I mean, is it like your entirety of your body gives
Yes.
indication to different parts of you?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And one thing that I love is that it's very objective. Like, because I feel like with some of those tests you can kind of like sway the answers a
You
little bit.
totally can. When you're reading them online, like you
Yes.
know which direction they're gonna lean for sure.
Exactly. So I love our body mapping. You literally will measure like your eye to your nose, to your ear, to your arm. You measure yourself, but only against yourself. Because if I were to measure my thumb to your eye, I'd be wrong about me. I'd be wrong about you.
Right,
But if you measure your thumb to your eye, you will get information about you.
right.
And so then, yes, like the eyes mean something, the arms mean something. And I have a whole podcast that I take literally like one piece of the body each week and just talk about it and what it means, because that's what will give you the information. And that's why our bodies change and
Right.
can change so easily, because how we're feeling on the inside and about ourselves is shifting and moving. And so it makes sense that our body would shift and move.
Reflects it on the
Uh-huh.
outside.
I know, isn't that
Um,
fascinating?
it is fascinating. Honestly, I operate from a mind, body, spirit perspective in all work
Yes.
I do,
Yeah.
so to me, it makes total sense that your body is not just this physical thing that's only through like genetics and DNA, that there is a resonance of the mind and the spirit, your emotional well-being.
Yes.
We see this a lot, and an example that comes to mind is sometimes you can actually tell when someone has lived a very hard, stressful life, like they have aged differently than
Yes.
someone who has maybe had a lighter version of life, or at least maybe done the healing work to get to a better place in mind, body, spirit. So it shows up in our body and our body does change. So that's really fascinating. What is your podcast? Let's put that out there and we'll mention it again at the end, but
Oh, yeah. Your nose knows with Jamie Maddox.
very cute. I like that. Okay, so we're talking a little bit about body mapping, but can you share also a little about just you have a unique approach, like you don't just do body mapping. You combine some tantra, some body mapping, some drum work, traveling, all for money healing. So how do these modalities support transformation at a soul level?
Yes. So I'm a very eclectic person. So I love just like gathering different pieces and connecting them all together.
Mhm.
So it kind of makes sense for me that I'm like, oh, I've got all these like random, unrelated things. And the money and the wealth is what ties them together because I'm like, okay, if we're doing some Tantra sessions, we're releasing shame. And I know that when we release shame, it opens us up to feeling like we deserve more. We're more worthy. We feel more worthy to receive. Therefore, more money is going to come. When
For
we do
sure.
innate drivers, you get into alignment with yourself. You know why you're making your decisions the way you are. And when you're in alignment with yourself, the money flows in. When you do sound healing with the drums, I mean, the whole drum making process, people don't realize how intense and in depth it is. That's probably my number one comment I get. They're like, I didn't think so much would come up making a drum. I'm like,
Right.
I know, right? But we're just like you said, we're clearing the emotions, we're healing the mind, the body, and the spirit all at the same time. And then when you drum it, and that drum has intention, whether it's money or a grief drum or a love drum or a womb drum, whatever intention you put into it, when you're then drumming it, you're connecting with yourself, you're connecting with that energy, you're removing anything that is not for your greatest and highest good. And again, the money and the wealth then flows in.
Right.
And so it keeps it fun, it keeps it light, because I don't believe that it has to be heavy to be
Right.
deep. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
when I connect all these different things, it just is really beautiful, the
Right.
transitions and transformations that happen.
I believe it, especially with the drumming, because, it sounds like there's multiple layers to the drumming experience and what it provides in healing. And what it calls to me is the creating process, I think is one of the things you're
Yes,
referring to.
absolutely.
Um, I feel like we've gotten, especially as adults, especially as women who are always tend to be caregivers and nurturers of others, we lose sight of our own creative processes, whether
Yes.
that's, an art and craft hobby or singing or writing, or creating a drum. And I can't remember, you might recall, but I believe their suggestion is the opposite of depression or apathy is actually creating. Have you heard that before? Is that right?
Yeah,
Is that what it is? The opposite
I
of?
believe so.
Um, so it makes sense that the creating of the drum, the actually making and building a drum. So that's what you're suggesting, right? That's one of the things.
Yeah,
You don't just hand people a drum,
no.
they build and create a
Yep.
drum.
Yep.
And then the next piece is that vibrational frequency healing, the sound healing that comes with the drum. Do I have all that sound
Yeah, yep.
right?
And then they have that drum in their house going
Yes.
forward. Yep.
Yes. Oh, that's so awesome. And do they have to do you teach how to drum a specific way, or is it just about, hitting, do you teach them like a song, so to speak, or is it just a creative, just continual of the creation?
Yeah, it is whatever. And because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I don't drum, I'm not
Right.
musical. And I'm like, no, no,
Right.
no, no. This
Right.
is not music at all. You just hit it. If you want to
Right.
go faster, you go faster. If you want to go slow, you go slow. And I just really invite women to like just lean into whatever rhythm, whatever beat, whatever intensity, like trust yourself. And if you need to hold it on your head, great. If you want to hold it on your feet, great. Like, so just really just tapping into their own intuition when they're
Yes.
drumming, and whether they're drumming someone else or themselves, like just whatever. So yeah, there's like zero rules with it
Yeah.
other than trust yourself.
And that in itself is a big part of the lesson, trusting
Yep.
yourself and going and breaking out of any type of like shame or embarrassment or playing small. Like, I don't
Yes.
want to be seen and heard. I see this so often in my work, whether I tell women to exhale loudly, well, you probably wouldn't, but it's a little surprising and shocking how much women won't. I'll be like, take a big, deep breath and then exhale, like, and they can only go,
Hmm. Yeah.
because we don't want to be seen. So the idea of drumming on your own, just like doing whatever beat you are, especially around other people, I could see how that in itself is an experience of trust, moving through shame, of not wanting to be seen. That makes a lot of really great sense to me.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
also want to touch on that you host a lot of really phenomenal retreats around the world, like big deal places. So why is travel and immersive experience also such a potent container for feminine wealth work?
Oh, yes. Okay. For multiple reasons. And this, I'm so passionate about it. I mean, I've been traveling the world since I was 18 before, I mean, this was like 20 years ago before like everyone traveled the world, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And I also got my degree, part of my bachelor's degree is in experiential education. And so what that means is I am all about putting yourself and my clients into situations that are maybe a little bit uncomfortable, maybe they wouldn't choose for themselves, having this experience and then processing it afterwards. So rather than just being like, let's talk about fear and let's move you through fear and whatever, I'm like, great, let's go raft down a river in Fiji and we're
Like
gonna let
actually
every
experience fear, not just talk about fear, but like go in it to win it.
exactly. And then be like, great, what came up for you? Let's process through it. We're going to do some breath work now. We're going to drum through it, or, oh, you've never traveled internationally and you're a little concerned to go alone with a female guide. Great. Let's have a chat about it. Like what's coming up. And so it's really about just having them experience life and having them experience these things that I know their soul is calling for them. And they really want it. They're just not quite sure how to do it. And so I'm like, great. I'm a very calculated risk taker. Let
Yeah.
me help you,
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it creates a lot of trust too, because you travel, not only do you travel, but you often travel solo around
Mhm.
the world. And so you
Yeah.
have the experience, the wisdom, the expertise. And I'm sure that creates a nice bridge for women who want to go for it, but don't know how and need someone to handhold them a little bit, at least in the
Mhm.
travel process,
Mhm.
getting to the places, and then cheerleading once they're there and that support in them embodying it. So I think that's really fantastic. So
Yeah.
we have, or I'm going to be leading the Freedom Era Summit, which is coming up at the end of September. And you are one of the fabulous presenter speakers. I appreciate you joining. So your presentation for the Freedom Era Summit is called From Good Girl to Wealthy Woman. Burn the roles so you can build your wealth. Can you share what inspired this theme?
Okay. It was a little bit of you and I collaborating on this because I'm so excited to be part of this. And there's just so many things that we're taught, like, well, if you're the one that helps, if you're the good mom, the good wife, all these different things, we're giving all these roles, especially as women. And if we fit all the boxes, then we're supposed to be happy.
Right.
But if we look around, majority of women in those roles doing those things aren't that happy and
Right.
do not have nearly the amount of wealth, financially, relationships, any type of wealth that they deserve and or need, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, I don't know if you can see, but I have pink hair,
Mhm.
which even a couple of years ago, never would you have thought that I would have pink hair because, like, for me, that didn't fit the good girl role, right?
Mhm.
And so that's where it's like I live my life so differently at this point, and I've actually never been happier. And it was interesting. I didn't plan on sharing this, but it's coming up. So my mom actually came on my last international retreat to Fiji. It was this past May, and I won't lie, I was a little bit nervous about having my mom come because I'm like,
Right.
oh, I'm really myself on my retreats,
Yes, that's a dynamic for sure.
right?
Yes.
And it was interesting because about halfway through, we had a really kind of intense conversation. And, she was just like, well, can you explain why you're doing this in your life? Why you're doing this in your life? Why you're doing this in your life? And I was just really honest. And what she said at the end, she goes, because basically I just said, Mom, I understand that you don't understand why I'm making decisions like I am right now. I don't always understand why I'm needing to make these decisions. I just know that I am, and I'm trusting that.
Right.
And she said, well, I've never actually seen you happier in your life. And I was like, wow. And I
Yeah.
said, well, it's true. I was like, I have never been happier. So just trust me in this process.
Yeah.
And things have been so different since coming home. Like
Wow.
how she responds to me, how like it is a completely different dynamic because there is that trust and that understanding that we just have to trust each other's journeys.
Yes.
And if it is really making someone happy because they're finally living aligned, then just let it be the beautiful thing that it is.
And of course, we don't want to cross any confidentiality on your mom's behalf, but if you feel comfortable asking, do you just see changes in her for herself? You said you see changes between the two of you, but I'm just asking if you are seeing changes within her and herself since the retreat.
Yeah, definitely. And I've even had a couple of my siblings comment on it. They're like, I don't quite understand. And I was like, oh, well, let me give you just a little
Right.
back piece that'll like
Right.
connect a couple dots. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, yes. I'm like, no, really, the retreats are transformational and
Yeah.
people really see the difference. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like this is a good time to add in, we already touched on that a lot of women fear the outcome as far as if they make changes and grow and evolve and receive for themselves and put themselves first, choose them, as you stated, how it will affect the people around them, particularly your closest relationships, usually is what women worry about.
Mhm.
And this, you're sharing an example right now of how it can shift and how, even for your siblings, that's also their mother that they're seeing different. And,
Mhm.
I don't think we can say that it always pans out so wonderful. I think sometimes we evolve and people don't want to evolve with us or accept the new way we operate, but it can also be a really phenomenal, loving, connected change. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Yep. Whether it goes the way you want and think it will or
Yeah.
completely different, it really is exactly what's needed. And both take courage.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Mhm.
Okay, so many of the women in our summit audience are in the middle of a big identity shift, whether that's through religious deconstruction, career pivots, redefining womanhood. So, what would you say to a woman who feels like she's too much and not enough all at the same time?
Yes. Oh, I get
Such a
that.
common, right? Like such a common
Yes.
dynamic.
First off, on the too much, I say claim it. Claim that you are too much
Mhm.
because you know what? We're all too much in certain areas. And if others around you aren't okay with that too muchness, then they're not your people.
Right,
And that's okay. And as far as the not feeling enough, I actually also say claim that too,
yeah,
which is a little counterintuitive, but I'm like, you know what? Why can't we be both?
right,
Because there's actually beauty in both. Because when we're not enough, it actually just means we have space to receive more.
right.
And so it's like,
I
great.
love that. Wait,
I know.
can we just sit with that for a minute? Could you
Yes.
repeat that? And let's just like let everyone sit with that for a minute. Could you repeat that? When you're not enough,
Enough. You actually have space to receive more.
what a reframe or an addition or, like, wow,
Yeah.
that's really beautiful, Jamie. I hadn't really thought about it exactly like that. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. So that's where
Wonderful.
it's like, nope, just claim it.
Mhm.
Claim all of you.
Yep. Yep. Great.
Mhm.
So how do you define true freedom when it comes to money? And let me just say, it's like many women in transition struggle with reclaiming their financial power. So what do you see holding them back? And I think that aligns with how do you define true freedom when it comes to money?
Yes. Probably the number one thing that I see is that women don't feel like their worth, they don't value themselves or feel like they have the worth to receive the money.
Okay.
And so true freedom comes when when a woman claims that she has value regardless of what everyone else thinks about her life or regardless of how her relationships are going, regardless of everything else. When she can stand in her power, knowing who she is and saying, I am worth it, regardless of what's gone on in my life or what
Right.
anyone else thinks, I am worth it. That's where the freedom comes. And that's where the money comes into because they will finally say, no, I can charge that. I can receive that. I can invest in myself in that. I can do X, Y, and Z. And then the freedom just naturally comes. And sometimes it's really hard to get either back to that place or to that place for the first time of being fully in your power and saying, I have value regardless of
Right.
everything else.
Right. Well, it's an interesting correlation of how people feel about themselves and how much money they do or do not have, what's in their bank account. Um, I actually spoke to several H&R tax companies a year or so ago, and it was about this very topic in that, you're not just crunching people's numbers. When people come to you to get their taxes done or their bookkeeping for their business or whatever it may be, they're coming actually with their whole identity and self. Like we are really tied up in my bank account shows this or doesn't, then that correlates to my value, my worth. And so I was encouraging these different accountants and stuff to perceive each of their clients from that perspective that, you're not just crunching numbers, you're caring for a whole being. And you have some expertise in this as well. How do you feel about that idea that we identify with what's in our bank account versus what we might not have in our bank account and our worth?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I actually love that. So I also have an accounting company and we specialize in small businesses. So I've been studying millionaires and wealthy entrepreneurs for years and just trying to connect the dots because I'm like, okay, I'm learning all of this about like, frequency and manifestation and money and energy. And then I'm watching it on this other practical side and being like, and there's a lot of people that don't follow the rules that make a lot of money. Does that
Right.
make sense? And
Yeah.
so it's been like, because so number one, I'm like, you can actually break all the rules, create your own, and make a lot of money,
Right.
right? And with that being said, I was like, the number one thing is like, these people are just like, well, sure, I can receive the money. Sure. So, and I don't love tying, because I'm not trying to say you tie your wealth to your money. That's not what I'm saying. But what
Okay.
I'm saying is that when you do claim that you have value for yourself, not in regards to money, but when you
Okay.
just claim that you have value, the money will naturally come.
Right.
And so they're not tied together at all for me.
Great.
It's just
Thank you
saying,
for clarifying that.
yeah, no, I'm really glad because yes, I'm like, no, that's not what I was
Yeah.
meaning. So it's just like when you do claim it, like everything in your life is going to go better. You're going to get everything that you desire. And it's just like, because I watch all these wealthy people and they just live their own lives according to them.
Right.
And it's really living according to their alignment. And that's why I'm like, no, women, align with who you are, find your value. And then when that alignment comes, the money comes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think also abundance is another word people mistake for meaning purely about money, whereas you can be abundant in love and good health,
Mhm.
energy, you know? So I
Yeah.
feel like you're using wealth in a similar vein. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's actually why I use the word wealth. I mean, I will say money here and there, but I'm like, no, wealth is feeling healthy, having good relationships, having the money. So it's like, yeah, more all encompassing. Absolutely.
Right. So again, your presentation at the Freedom Era Summit is from good girl to wealthy woman. Burn the roles so you can build your wealth. So what can women expect from your presentation?
Well, definitely fun and a little spicy because that's just me. I'm bold and
That's
direct.
spicy.
But really just number one, bringing awareness to what roles are you still performing in? What roles do you still have that are maybe holding you back? And then how to I say burn them, but you don't have to totally destroy your
Yeah.
life, but how to deconstruct them so that you actually allow the wealth to come to you in a really easy, fun way. Because I don't think it needs to be hard. I really believe that it can be fun and easy. So it's how to let go of those roles and transition to like this wealthy woman that you really enjoy being.
That's really phenomenal. I'm so excited for it. So how can people work with you beyond the summit, if they're feeling lit up with everything that you've shared today?
Yeah, so definitely listen to my podcast, Your Nose Knows with Jamie Maddox. I also have international retreats. So I have one in Puerto Rico coming up in October. There's a few spots left there. And the other one is I do nose, discover your nose sessions, where we just dive really quick and deep into what your specific nose means and where that's blocking your money. And we make the switch and just let the money flow. So those are the top three ways right now.
Wonderful. Great. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your fire, and your beautiful perspective on wealth, embodiment, and becoming. I know many women watching are going to walk away feeling more connected to their bodies, their power, and their possibility. And if you're feeling that too, if something in you stirred, softened, or sparked during this interview, I want to personally invite you to join us for the Freedom Era Summit, where Jamie will be presenting Money and the Woman You're Becoming, releasing scarcity stories. Oh, nope, I think I got the wrong title on that one. But it is releasing scarcity stories as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
Um, the summit is a 3-day virtual experience designed to support your healing, reclamation, and expansion across mind, body, and spirit. And Jamie is just one of the many powerful voices you'll hear from. You can find all the details and grab your free ticket starting September 15th at www.intuitiveencounters.com. Thanks again for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who's ready to rise and to embody their wealth. We'll see you at the Freedom Era Summit. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you.